Hello, everybody. That's better. I hope you're all keeping well. The weather's beautiful here at the moment. I haven't made a video in a few days because I've been still upset about that man that died because of the lockdown. He wasn't able to work, and that's why his cancer advanced and killed him. But I'm sure you all have similar stories that happened to you guys where you are. On the positive side, there's been tremendous gains for our tribe in recent times. We are going to win this, and the establishment are absolutely terrified at the moment. And the terror is increasing. This is why there's talk of more lockdowns and so on, and cancelling Christmas. It's the little things that always betray the real state behind the propaganda. Now, for instance, uh, RTE, who are the Irish National Public Broadcaster, they're the Ireland's version of the BBC, or PBS, they have put out a propaganda video on YouTube, which naturally they shut down all the comments and they shut down all the likes and dislikes because they're so open and full of integrity and for the truth that they hide the truth of people being disgusted by them. But basically, the video is really meant as a kind of a uh, a morale boosting internal memo for the staff and the newsroom there because they're losing this corporate battle. Many of the journalists who work for RTE, posting on there, the journalists who work for RTE and so on, they all, many of them have been connected to the Clinton Foundation, and that's why Christian Morris did an interview recently on legalized freedom with Greg Moffat, and he pointed out that when Trump won the election and Clinton lost, they had Hillary Clinton on their main TV show kissing her ass. And this sums them up perfectly. But they've made this propaganda video basically saying that we're the real news and anything that's not us is fake news. And this is just unbelievable. This is a TV network that when in 2008, when the Trilateral Commission and the Bilderbergs were hosted in Dublin by David Rockefeller, and the actual event was even opened by the then President of Ireland, Mary McAleese, when RTE were calling anyone who brought the event up as conspiracy theory, even though it's just down the road from their studios, and the president of Ireland was there. So for these people to have the balls to now talk about integrity and truth is just astounding. Now, but the video it shows like a woman who's in danger of fake news, and she's on her phone like this, and she's getting all the fake news about you shouldn't trust the government. It's a scamdemic and all this, and they have like the sort of like these symbolic individuals running towards them. And very interestingly, the two ones that pose the most danger to her are ancient Celtic warriors. Think about that. Ancient Celtic warriors. They want Irish people to believe that their Celtic fire and ancient spirit is an evil force making them insane. That's what their stupid propaganda film is saying. It's quite amazing. It's laughable. You just laugh at it. They often spent. It was also a very expensive production. There's some serious CGI, and money was spent on this thing. So also, and it's like it's showing the woman. She puts it down and goes back to normal. Like, oh, I'll watch mainstream news again. I'm clean. I'm cured. But the reality is that it's really for the staff and RT to go, see, they still love us. They still really do love us. We're still brainwashing every people. Are we great? Are we wonderful? It's an organisation riddled with incompetence and incompetence. Nepotism and cronyism. Absolutely, you literally cannot work there unless you're related to the previous mediocre gobshite that was there before. That was your parents there. It's literally like that. And they get vast amounts of millions, countless millions of taxpayers' money to pay for this cronyism and nepotism among a certain clique that predominantly live in South Dublin. Like Christian Morris was saying that in another time, say back in the 80s, he would be probably working for the Irish Times or RT as a journalist. but now he can't because it's all about a closed shop protecting the establishment. And the funny thing is, I was just looking at Dave Allen the other day. I would probably, if we still lived in that world, I could probably have a good chance of getting a TV show like the Dave Allen at Large. And he was a huge mentor and inspiration for me. Just sitting there pontificating about life and stuff like that. But we don't live in that world anymore. They've completely destroyed it and locked it down, and I'm reduced to this, which I absolutely love doing. Don't get me wrong; it's not a burden or anything like that. So that's one sign they're on the rocks. Another sign they're on the rocks is they're talking now about only locking down Dublin, and the reason for this is protest. They don't want any protest, and that's really why they want to lock down the capital. And I'm talking about London as well, and that's just what that's about, to stop protests and nothing else. But if it was Black Lives Matters protest or some other left wing bullshit, be sure the government wouldn't be talking about locking down the city centre. Now, more good news. Remember I said that Ian Brown had come out on Twitter and was like playing a blinder. Well, he hasn't backed down, and he's actually even got better and more sort of, oh fuck you, Bill Gates and the establishment. And not only not only is he doing that, but the comments are now overwhelmingly supporting him. And you're finding that at first you have the odd indie rock star, irrelevant nobodies like badly overdrawn boy, and other rubbish, indie pop bands celebrated by garbage like the NME, upper middle class toffs. The kind of people, the kind of bands that people who are members of the Cambridge Socialist Workers Party, but also organise what kind of pink gin is going to be served at the Henley Regatta. Pandora and Tarquin, those types. Terribly upset with my hero, my once hero, Ian Brown. He's jolly bad show, these types. He's not a socialist worker like me, Pandora, and you. These types. And even better again, he's released an anti-lockdown song called, I think it's called Little Seeds, Big Trees, and he fucking goes right for it. He goes right in there, and he talks about the vaccine and how they want to treat us all like cattle and all this stuff and take away our freedoms. And it's actually a really cool tune as well, and it's got a great lo-fi guitar sound. It's a really good tune, even if it wasn't. He's an amazing voice he has, really, and that's why I always said he was wasted in the Stone Roses, but. The So he puts that out, and even at the end of this video, the song, look for it on YouTube. Little Ian Brown, it's only released yesterday. Little seeds, big trees, and it's just basically what we're doing here. We're planting little seeds and growing big fucking trees, and the overwhelming comments on the video are supportive. Now you've had him, and you still have the usual your career's over, mate. No, Jedward's career is over. Ian Brown Ian Brown will be on the right side of history because of all this, standing up for freedom in an ocean of mediocre establishment adoring shitbags. We finally are now seeing who the actual celebrities who can think for themselves. Now Noel Gallagher, as you said, he's joined in now. He said he's not wearing a fucking mask because if he gets COVID, that's his own problem. What the fuck is it to you? It's a fucking muzzle, the man Tampax. And we had Jim Corr's been fighting a good fight for a long time now. And now Van Morrison, of all people, even though he called me a cunt, he called me a wee cunt when I was 18. And I was completely innocent. I was asking him to come, would he come and see my friend's band when he was walking. They had a band, and they were a really good kind of Steely Dan type, kind of like jazz rock band, and I was really proud of them, my friends and stuff. And they were playing at the Bagot Inn in Dublin on Bagot Street, and this is when I was about 17, 18, and I was helping them getting bringing the amps and all that stuff in, friends with them, and I was underage, so I was away. I could actually go to see a band, even though I wasn't supposed to be in a pub. I was working for the band, and back then you couldn't go into a pub if you were under 18, and without a parent. And I went outside while I was waiting for the car to come back around again to unload some more amps. And there's Van Morrison walking down the street after he bought a couple of bottles of wine from an off license across the way. And I went, "Oh, Mr. Morrison, would you come in and see my friend's band? They're really good. You have to hear them. I think you'd like the sound." And he goes, "Get out my, go away, you wee, go away, you wee cunt." And he just walked right past me. Which, it was pretty bad because I wasn't bugging him or anything like that. But even with that, he's forgiven, because he's bringing out an anti-lockdown song. It's really happening now. It's really turning, and they're really on. They're frightened. They're frightened now. Now, you see, the thing is that they never. You see, because we're dealing with psychopaths, they don't have any real creativity. They recycle the same things over and over again, and the same things and these things have already been invented and given for them now. And if and you can actually see them. See that change gaslighting on the global level. I'll give you an example. There was there was a a a thing I saw a lot of my lefty friends on social media and lefty types in the last month or so were posting posts that all said basically this: "Dear friends, I'm so sorry you went down the conspiracy rabbit hole. I was there myself, and now I'm healed. And will you come with me? And I will help you and won't judge you and return you back to believing everything politicians and the mainstream media said." They were all. It was verbatim. They were copying and pasting this. Now that and all the lefties and liberal sites, it was full of them. This was directly released from some central operation: London School of Economics, London University, Fabian Society, Tavistock. Any one of them could be you could pick, but it definitely was put out there. It reminded me of the scene in 1984 in the movie where, and it was in the book, but in the movie it's very powerful, where uh, Richard Burton as O'Brien is hugging Winston after he's put him through absolute hell and played on his greatest fear, the rats that ate his mother's dead body when she died when he was a kid. And he's holding him and cradling John Hurt, Winston Smith, like a child. I'm saving you. I'm your surrogate daddy now. I'm here to save you. Classic psychopathic torture techniques. And in a relationship, a psychopath would go to his woman. He would beat her around and torture her, right? And beat her up. And then anything, play with her mind. And when she's going, "I can't take any more. I'm going to leave," he'll go, "But I'm only trying to help. I'm only trying to help." You know, these psychopaths who are dependent on female enablers, those types, they can't do anything on their own. The low level ones. But there's no difference between the low level male parasite psychopathic and who needs female enablers constantly. You know those types. We all know them. These assholes who, as soon as the wife dies, they have a new one. As soon as the woman moves out, they're fishing for a new one. They're always sympathetic when the end. Look, they're always fishing on social media with a sad picture and she left me. Who's going to who's going to stop me? Who's going to prevent me from being a man now soon? Those types, right? And the government works exactly the same way. The government works in exactly the same way. They they're the same low level parasite, but at the macro level. So this is how fragile their whole thing is. And how many years mostly 10 years I've been teaching about these cons. 10 years, and at least. And the methodology never changes because they're not creative. If they you see, like, Ian Brown can release a song because he's creative that tears their whole propaganda to bits in 4 minutes. And they have people, thousands of them all over the world with PhDs and everything, working full time, but they're not creative. They're not creative. See, they're devious. See, psychopaths are devious. They plan in advance. I'll give you an example. The whole thing that's keeping the mask going and people screaming for the vaccine is this unfettered belief in science. The science is settled. The science is never wrong. And anyone who knows anything about science knows that even to imply a phrase such as the science is settled, is just completely bullshit, because science is never settled. It's an open-ended book. Even universal constants are not constant. The speed of light changed in the 1920s, and then they recalibrated the instruments and said, "Oh, it never changed." That's what science. That's what there is no. There's nothing settled in science. To say there is, that's scientism. It's a religion, and then what they've done is they've given us the likes of Richard Dawkins, Stephen Hawking, and who was that? The absolutely gorgeous Brian Cox, uh, to brainwash you into believing that scientists are perfect, and they don't make there's no they're totally trustworthy, and everything that science is completely on the ball. Now let me tell you something. Any science that claims to be settled has been bought and paid for. Simple as that. Simple as that. That's what Bill Gates is doing with his psychopathic, psychotic, megalomaniac drive to change our DNA. That's what it's come out with now, that he actually wants to change our DNA. He said it. And in this speech, he says on that stage, some people act like they have a choice. You don't have a choice. Now, how anyone with 4 brain cells and a sense of dignity can sit there and not say to themselves, who the fuck is this guy? Thinking telling the entire human race they don't have a choice but for him to alter their vaccine or alter their DNA with his injections. He should be fucking locked up in the same psychiatric hospital as Hillary Clinton, who had a psychopathic rush on live. You see, that's why he smirks. He hides his psychopath behind the geek thing, the arms waving and all that, right? But that's the psychopathic rush always comes out. You'll see that when he talked about, and millions will die. You see that, like, that kind of thing. That's the psychopathic rush. The same one that Hillary Clinton, when she went on live TV right after she'd been told Muammar Gaddafi had been murdered by being sodomized with a bayonet without trial. We came, we saw, he died. That was you read books, interviews with the likes of Ted Bundy. They talk about the psychopathic rush, where they get this rush, like it's like the best heroin and the best cocaine on earth flows into their system. Well, that's what he was doing. That's when he's like that, smirking and smiling and talking about, like, you do as I say or you die. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing the rush. It's a neurochemical thing. It's mostly adrenaline rushing through their brains because they get, and that's the duper's delight, the smirk, all that kind of thing. And I saw Duper's Delight the other day. It was unfucking real. Um, he was a local. He lives a few towns from here, and I've seen him around. And I've come into contact him because we both use the same business to get our stuff. And he has this this demeanor of, he doesn't talk much, but you can see he scans around like this, looking all the time. He's one of these predators in the background, right? And he's looking. I noticed it before, but when we're standing online in the place where I get the parts, he's like this. I always see him like that, right? And the other day I saw him. He took the mask. He's looking at me, and I had no mask. He takes the mask off to talk to the person behind the counter, and the woman behind the counter says she doesn't have the part, and he goes, "I will give it to me anyway, because that Egypt won't know the difference. The person who's buying it for won't know the difference anyway." It came to life. I came to life, and you see that a lot with these types. You see a lot of these politicians like that don't really have particular personalities, but they're when they get their way, they go. It just in the autoferal impulse, and they can't help it. And when they're in the flight or fights mode, their eyes are like this because they're in full predator mode. They're like this because the norepinephrine at the lower brainstem floods the whole area and lights up and the optic nerves come to here, and that's why they have those eyes of a a python with a grin before the python kills its live prey. And that's why when people talk about a reptilian, I'm not mean reptilian like aliens. I mean reptilian in that sense. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to that. But so you look at the state of the ones attacking the likes of Ian Brown, Jedward. Now, for those who don't know who Jedward are basically a novelty act of two twins from Ireland, two posh boys from Ireland who are probably in their 30s now and still act like they're 9-year-olds. Basically, their image is Pee Wee Herman without the genius of Pee Wee. Pee Wee Herman's was genius. That guy was a satirical genius, and he played. Pee Wee's Big Adventure is a brilliant movie, although he plays that kind of adult child. The jokes, he knew how to tell jokes and he had timing. These two just go, and we went to school. You're talking about in their 30s now. And we went to school and we. I like chocolate. That's literally their act. And you're supposed to laugh at them. These are the ones that are putting down Ian Brown, calling him evil and stuff like that. That's literally what the other side has. Jedward and a few indie pop acts, the posh ones that have no relevance, selected by the NME. That's literally who's on the other side. And we are like when Jedward is riding shotgun with you, you're fucking dead. It's as simple as that. And that's what they have. Jedward riding shotgun with them. And it's like you have to go check them on the Graham Norton show. They're with the horse face from Sex and the City. They do things like that. Grown men, and they have no other act. Now they can sing and dance because they've obviously went to like acting and dancing and singing school. It's not natural. They've been trained. They're what you call stage brats. But they're desperate to try and stay relevant now. So what they do now is they play the establishment thing, but they've no choice really. And just that's the best way to describe them. Two Pee Wee Hermans with no talent. That's really what they are. Where Pee Wee Herman's genius, and it's amazing. It's amazing how quickly it's turning now at this point. I'm seeing the last few days lots of maskless again. Now they every so often they crank up the fear, and I know people now that did believe that there was a pandemic and was playing the game, and now they're like, fuck it, I've had enough. Fuck, I've heard that so much in the last few days. Fuck it, I've had enough. It's like I don't fucking care. Now the gamble that the establishment played against that was that they thought they wanted to get all their plans through before the body of the masses started going, no, not anymore. Not anymore. What happened was, because of people in alt media, our tribe included, have planted an acorn that's now grown into a bush, and it's now on its way to being grown into a big, huge, mighty oak tree. Now, there's a pagan analogy for you, and it's chaos magic. It's what it is. This is why we always win, is because they don't have the creativity to do what we can do. They don't have that. They don't have the satirical ability that someone like me would have to tell you watch my videos, right? It's like it's filled with all me taking the piss and satire and stuff. On one level, that protects me, okay? Because if I was sitting here going, "New world order, going to kill, we're going to die," or like this kind of thing, makes you a target. But if because he's a conspiracy theorist, he's this that, he's easy to pin down. But if you're someone like me doing funny voices and talking about things like paganism and magic and the the Germanicization of the synoptic gospels in between all that, they're like, a conspiracy theorist, but he makes me laugh. He's funny. How does he know about, things like philosophy and theology and all these? How does he know these things? He should be just like Alex Jones, one dimensional. He's not one. Can I see? What did what did what did what did Bruce Lee say? Be like water, flow when you have to flow, freeze when you have to freeze. Take the shape of the teapot. So much wisdom in that. And but if you're just the one thing all when you have to, but if you're the one thing all the time, they can get a bead on you like a sniper's rifle. Okay, and they can't deal with this. They can't deal with me doing characters like Barry Drew Moore and Anton Dzeko and the D4 types. It's such a Leo, such a they don't. Their arsenal is not equipped to fight with that stuff. When they try to do it, it fails miserably because they've blacklisted and thrown out all the great satirists from TV and mainstream to the point now where this is how they underhanded themselves, right? They removed all the great satirists out of our TV stations, right? You don't see them on TV, and they put establishment Torags and propagandists like Frankie Boyle and these types and Russell Howard and Joe Brand up on the stage now telling unfunny jokes about how woke they are. Okay, now at the same time they have removed the brilliant cutting satirists, the Dave Allen, the Rick Mayles, the Bernard Mannings, I might add, George Carlin's types, Bill Hicks, all these people, as they have removed them from the mainstream, what they did was they shot themselves in the foot because they thought that the population would lose that ability to recognize that satire. And then when fellas like me come along, and that other chap, who's that English fella that does those hilarious videos, Smugface, that guy Adrian Smugface or Professor Small Micropenis, he's brilliant. It reaches so many people because they haven't forgotten that jestercraft is still in there, and therefore the establishment comedians, the likes of Frankie Boyle and that idiot Ricky Gervais, Russell, what's his name, Russell Brand, they suddenly look the mediocre, unfunny twats they all are, establishment twats they all are, because real satire is incredibly powerful. That's what I've always used it. I mean, I learned well from the likes of Dave Allen. He was definitely a serious mentor for me, and this is important. This is why from the time for the last 10 years that you've known me, I've been doing funny characters and funny voices and this kind of thing because they can't pin you down. This is why they want specialization in everything. This is why this is why they want someone who has a PhD in something and can't put a fucking boil a kettle. This is why they want specialization, okay? And what happens is because they've sent so many people to university as a scam to bankrupt them. So many people have been to college and university today and been specialized that the ones who didn't go are now got an advantage because they're polymaths. They're holistic. They can do lots of things. And that's our tribe. That's the kind of people that are watching the show. That's what you're like. You're not fixed into one specific path in life where no deviation is from it, and you're depending on everyone to be like that. Again, they always make the same fucking mistakes. They always don't factor in the one thing we have that they don't, and that is the human spirit. That is the song in our hearts. That is the laugh and the giggles of the satirist. Remember, in Irish mythology, the Tuatha De Danann were defeated by the Milesian Gaels, not by a battle, but by a poem issued by a druid called American, to show the power of the spoken word as opposed to what they had to offer. And the phrase he used was, "I am a satirist of the wind," and that was 3,500 years ago in Ireland. And I think that's also why Irish people are kind of on the forefront of this. Not just me, but there's so many of us, there's a good few of us now, on the forefront of this anti-scamdemic thing and getting quite a lot of audience and quite a lot of recognition for it because our roots go back to that. There are very few races in the world today, nationalities, that you can draw a line between them and the Stone Age. The present ones in the Stone Age, and the Irish are one of them. And the Irish are one of them. The Welsh would be another, although they've been affected by the Romans. But the Irish, definitely, the Sardinians, some Native American tribes, Siberians, and the Japanese probably. And that's it. And some Africans as well. Quite a lot of Africans, actually. And other than that, you cannot draw a bead between too many peoples and the Stone Age. And you can do it with the Paddies. You can do it with us. And this this country is named after a spectacularly ancient pagan goddess, Eru. It's just we forget. This is why they had in that propaganda piece about fake news. They put the Celtic warriors as the evil ones attacking modern Irish people because that was their reptilian brains subconsciously knowing what archetypes are buried in the hearts and souls of all of us, regardless of what nation or race we come from. Those same fundamental warriors are there below the surface. The ones who don't wield swords wield words. The ones who, the ones who don't plan battles uh, plan a new way to live in a parallel world. And this is it. We're leaving them behind into a parallel society. And we now have some serious pull now. You know, people can't say, oh, it's a handful of idiots on the internet like us. Now it's Ian Brown and his millions of followers. It's Van Morrison and his tens of millions of followers. It's Jim Core and his millions of followers. It's Noel Gallagher and his tens of millions of followers. Eyes on the prize. Keep the song in your heart. And feck 'em if they can't take it, Joe. We're on our way.